Larry, let's get started with the updates of the attack on Donald Trump. And what do we know right now?
Well, they know the name of the shooter. Know that he's 20 years old. I have not had a chance. I've been involved teaching all day, so I haven't really gotten up to speed on all of the various reports about his social media accounts. I'm sure they're going to dig into those. They claimed that he was a registered Republican, but was donating to the Democrats and to Act Blue. So it's very possible that he was one of these people who registered as a Republican in order to vote as a Democrat to try to interfere, because in Pennsylvania they have a restricted primary system where you have to be registered with the party that you're going to vote for. So if you're going to vote for Republican, you got to be a registered Republican. Same law exists here in Florida. I still have not heard a confirmation of the firearm that he was using, the rifle, but it sounds like it was an AR, Armalite platform, M4, that fires either a 223 or a 5.56, and its maximum effective range is around 300 yards. It may go out a little farther than that. But again, we got the same problem we talked about yesterday in the video, that as the bullet is accelerating downrange, does reach a point where it starts decelerating and losing speed. And the farther out it goes, the less damage it can do, but it can still kill and maim up to around 300 yards easily. The problem with making a shot at that distance is you really need to have some specialized optics. You can't just do that normally with iron sights. Once in a while you can, but it's a tough shot. You can get one shot off, but to do multiple shots and hit a tight group with that platform, very difficult to do. In the hands of an experienced long-distance shooter, yeah, you could pull that off. But this kid was not that. He was not this uber-trained special operations warrior. But we still don't know a lot about him and who his connections were. Based upon what I've seen, I do not buy the FBI's claim. It's reported out there. I don't know if it's true or if the FBI is just being accused of having said this, but that this was a lone shooter, this was one off. I don't believe that at all. He had some support, both I think with the planning and getting there, and I don't think he was working on this just alone. He had other links, other connections, and maybe the FBI is putting that out there in order to lull his compatriots into a sense of complacency that they're okay. But again, I don't trust the FBI anymore. There was a time when I worked closely with the FBI. I had a lot of confidence in the FBI. I have friends who served with the FBI. But this current institution, it's so highly politicized, and it is so corrupt at the very top, as we saw with in 2016 with their attempt to smear Donald Trump as an agent of Russia, that I no longer have faith in anything they say or do. And that's unfortunate.
Did you see that video of the guy who was talking with BBC, and he said that I was pointing, the guy was over the roof and nobody was paying attention to?
Yeah, well, that goes back to I just did a live stream video myself, and it's very clear. There are only two possibilities here, Neva. Possibility number one, that the Secret Service is utterly, totally incompetent, unprofessional, just didn't do their job. Or they were complicit in the planning of this or allowing this to happen. And I don't say that lightly. But here's what we know. What the Secret Service is supposed to do with events like this is they're supposed to do a full security sweep, not just of the place where they're holding the event, the venue, and not just who gets access into that venue, setting up checkpoints where you can control the access, you can do security checks to make sure nobody's carrying a firearm. But you also you sweep the perimeter around. 360. You want to get in look from every angle, at least out to 500 yards to people who could potentially take a shot at the president. And even beyond, you want to make sure that even you're looking beyond the 500 yards for somebody that could really, with the right kind of rifle and ammunition, you could make that kind of long distance shot that could kill somebody like Trump. Well, the roof of this building where the shooter was reportedly only 400 feet, around 130 yards, 135 yards from where Trump was speaking. That should have had FBI, Secret Service agents stationed on top of that before the event started. Number one, that didn't happen. If Secret Service was to say, oh, well, we were short of personnel, we didn't have enough, well, bullshit. Then you call the state troopers of Pennsylvania or get some of the local cops, either from that county, the sheriff's office. You get somebody that's vetted to stand up on top of that building to secure it, because that's a vulnerable place. And you don't have to be some security expert to realize that, for God's sake. And no, this is not Monday morning quarterbacking on my part either. That's will be another bullshit charge. This was, if the failure to do that, to secure that location, was because of laziness, or because they missed it, or because they decided it wasn't worth protecting, there is no excuse the Secret Service can offer for why it failed to do that. Now, I was inclined, if you would have asked me this last night, between the incompetence or complicit, last night I would have gone with incompetence. But I've seen some additional video footage today. The counter sniper team that was standing on the building immediately behind Donald Trump to his right, or as you're looking at it, to your left and up. There are two guys. And you see them first looking over in the direction with binoculars. So they could spot the guy. Now, some said, oh, well, the slope of the angle of the roof didn't permit him to see him. Well, if that's the case, how the hell did they shoot him? I mean, you can't shoot what you can't see. They shot him. And they got a headshot off too, because they're capable they got the rifles that can do that, and the ammunition. So I saw that, and then you see them on their guns, aiming in the direction of this shooter, and they only fire the shots after the shooter fires his initial 2 or 3 shots. And that's all I believe. I don't think the shooter was able to get off more than 4 shots maximum in that time span. When they first spotted the guy on the roof, they should have cleared the stage. The word should have been sent, get the president out, clear the stage until we secure that perimeter. They didn't do that. Total failure. So who gave the orders? Were they given orders to stand down? Where did this kid, who helped him plan the best point for which to carry out this attack? Because there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, if Trump had not turned his head at the last minute, when he did that, that's what saved his life, grazed his ear. If he would have stayed in this position looking forward at the crowd, probably would have blown the back of his head off.
When something like this happens, Larry, what would be the priority for the security team? Just shooting the guy, killing him, or just shooting and keeping him alive to see what's behind that guy?
you eliminate the threat. There's this notion that you can use firearms to quote disable somebody. You know, that's nonsense from movies. Yeah, you know, you can do a crotch shot on somebody, they'll go down to the ground pretty quick. They'll be disabled. But, you know, when you're pointing a gun at somebody, you're planning to end their life. And these snipers are trained, they're not trained to wound somebody, they're trained to kill somebody. And the question that's going to have to be asked of them is, what the hell were they waiting for? And why did they wait till the guy fired shots before they shot and killed him?
He was shooting more than one, yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
And
he
what
fired, I think he was able to press that trigger 3 times and
and
get all
after 3
3 shots.
times they started shooting at
Right,
him.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, you know, you can get up and go bang, bang, bang. Okay, so that's about a little over a second. But once the shooting started, then you can see, you hear the initial shots, and then the return fire from the counter sniper team started up. And that's what a lot of people in the crowd heard more than they did the shots from outside.
And still, do we have any information on how many people got killed in this shooting?
Just the last I heard was one man, a fire chief, part of a fire department in Pennsylvania. He was killed. He caught a round in the head. And 2 other people were described as critically wounded. Don't know the nature of their wounds. But you know, based upon the damage that was done, it sounded like it was a larger round, like a 2.23 or a 5.56.
Yeah. And the shooter was not Chinese.
No, he was not. Now that, again, there was a lot of disinformation being put out. That's the other thing that leads me to believe that this was sort of an organized effort, because they immediately tried to surface all these different theories with linking that he was Chinese, or that he was tied to part of the pro-Hamas movement, that some even claimed it was, you know, Ukrainians trying to kill Trump to keep him cutting off aid to Ukraine. And then there are pictures circulating of a variety of people that were, in fact, not anywhere involved with this at all. So this was, you know, this was more than just a, like I said, a one-off where this kid planned it on his own and just happened to, you know, get up on the roof and be able to get off a shot without any of the counter sniper teams doing their job.
Did you see that photo that shows how the bullet just passing Donald Trump's head?
Yeah, I think that's a fabrication, because, you know, you look at from where the photographer, number one, when you shoot that kind of high speed photography, you got to set your camera up to do that. I mean, high speed cameras that are capable of capturing a bullet in flight are, you know, there are cameras that can do that, but that's not the camera you use to take a photograph of Donald Trump speaking at a platform. The other thing is the angle from where it was taken. Go back and look at the crowd picture. I don't see how they got that angle without catching people who were standing in the upper row behind Trump, or the building that was behind Trump. It's a blue sky. So I think it was manufactured. You know, maybe it's real, but you'd have to you have to ask the fellow who took the photo, why did you set your camera on high speed? Because that's not the normal speed that you shoot somebody as with regular photographers.
Yeah. And the only thing that helped Donald Trump in this shooting was his sudden movement of his head. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Literally, he
Wow.
was like, I'm looking at you, and then he turned, and when he turned his head, it saved his life.
He was so damn lucky, Larry, because that was so, wow.
Yeah.
Just a moment, just a second.
Well, and it's being portrayed as God's intervention to save Donald Trump. And it really has changed. Trump is already on a roll, but this has fundamentally changed this race. It's really now defanged the Democrats. Up to this point, they've been really able to get away with verbal murder. They've threatened killing Donald Trump. They've acted it out on stage. Comedians would hack off his head, and Snoop Dogg, remember some years ago, that video where he shot Trump. So, this has been long a meme among the Democrats. Now it really happened. And all of a sudden they're having to walk it back. The Biden administration prevented Trump from getting increased Secret Service. Well, boy, they did an Anna Baerbock 360 today, also known as a 180, an about turn. I wouldn't be surprised to see that RFK Jr. now gets Secret Service protection too, because the Biden administration is now in the hot seat. And they can no longer talk about Donald Trump as this existential threat that we have to stop at any means possible. Oh, including killing him? That doesn't work. And by making Trump the victim like this, but a victim who stands up, unbowed, bloody, fist in the air, man, you couldn't script that. And it's just, it's really, I think it's made it's really taken this campaign in a new direction. Biden's going to get wiped out if he stays in the race. And whoever they replace Biden with is going to get wiped out.
Don't you think that they're gonna replace Biden with RFK Jr.?
No, not at all.
Yeah, because
Again, the most likely replacement's Kamala Harris.